So for this video, we're going to talk about the benefits of homeschooling. And we both know that there are as many ways to homeschool as there are homeschool families.
That's right.
We've learned that over the years. So when you think back to when you started homeschooling, what were your main reasons for starting to homeschool your family?
When I first think about how I started to homeschool, my main thing was to be able to have time with my children, because my kids were first in Christian school and I brought them home, and to really invest in them what I felt God was teaching me to train my children, rather than have some outside teacher investing in them and raising them the way they wanted to. So I really wanted to have them because God gave them to me, and I wanted to train them the way He wanted to. How was it for you?
Yeah. So I started also with a fourth grader and a first grader. So they were in public school first. My parents are both school teachers. Mm-hmm. So I grew up thinking I wanted to be a teacher someday, but they pretty much dissuaded me from doing that. But I wanted to be a full-time mom, and I was. And when I first heard about homeschooling, I loved the idea of just our family being together so much of the time and building those strong family relationships, and also allowing my kids to learn at their own pace and in a way that was right for each of them, because when you have several children, they're so different.
That's right.
And they learn in different ways, and they have different amounts of energy, and I didn't want them labeled, and I didn't want them to have to sort of squash their natural curiosity and energy. So that was my initial going into it, thinking of why I thought homeschooling was a good idea for our family. We're going to talk about the benefits of homeschooling, because that's kind of comes off of the reasons why people homeschool, right? Mm-hmm. So there's many benefits that we've seen over the years and that other people have. So one of the reasons that a lot of people, especially right now, are talking about homeschooling is for health reasons, right? So a lot of children today have so many food allergies and chronic illnesses and special needs that parents find they're struggling to have their kids' needs met in school. So bringing them home where they know that they can control their environment and give them a safe place to learn is a big benefit of homeschooling. In addition to health, other safety concerns. So things like bullying, things like abuse, physical abuse and emotional abuse. A family and a loving family, you can provide a safe and secure environment for your children to grow up in.
That's right.
So that's one of the big benefits, I think, of homeschooling.
Going back to family relationships, I think that was a very big one for me too, as it came across. It wasn't initial when I first started to homeschool, but I could see that was such a huge advantage to homeschooling. I saw the interaction between my children and the different age levels, and yet the older ones learned how to care for younger ones and be able to read them stories when I was helping another student do something, and even the younger ones to be able to speak and think a little bit more with an adult, and they felt more comfortable. The bonds that are created too, they're lifelong bonds, and a story that I always love to tell is my eldest one to the youngest one that I homeschooled. There's 10 years difference between the two of them, and when the older one went off and he was in the Army and he came back, he would have a date with each of the children or each of his siblings. And that was something that was so special. And just like his first one was with his sister that's 10 years younger than he is, and to just take her out, and they went out and talked, and he took her to lunch, and they just to see that he wanted to continue that relationship with this 10 years younger. That's a lot of years, and just that he cared so much about him. And then that was something that was very special to me, and seeing how they protected one another, and they saw that nucleus was so important. So that was one of the things. And also, I think with the parent relationship with the children, you really get to know your children really well. When they're at home, like in traditional school, I would get them dressed and out the door by 7:15, and then I wouldn't see them until 3 o'clock, they'd have to do school, their homework, and then sometimes they'd be able to play. So I never really got to spend a lot of time with them. Whereas being at home with homeschooling them, I got to know their strengths and their weaknesses, and I could see them develop. And it was, to me as a parent, seeing that there was so much pleasure and so much. It helped me to know them better, and I think it grew us closer together.
I think you get a lot of family time when you're homeschooling. And I had a similar thing where there's 13 years difference between my oldest and youngest, and I love also that close relationship that built over time has extended into that now our kids are all adults,
right,
and they're in their 20s and 30s, and they still love to hang out together and call each other, and the family group text, and they like hanging out with each other. They kind of like hanging out with their parents, so that relationship that formed when they were young from spending so much time together, and it wasn't always great when they were little.
right.
They still fought and they still were on each other's nerves, but just having to work through that as a family, because as parents, we get to guide them through that and help them reconcile and become friends, and that's been a really great thing. And then for parents to be that primary influence, that was one of the things that was important to me too, that as a parent we retain that role of being an important person in their life and the authority, instead of always hearing, well, my teacher said to do it this way.
Right.
I was the teacher, so I'm the one who got to be that person to sort of set that standard in our family. So that's a big one for most people. A flexible schedule. And that's another thing that is great about homeschooling. It's one of the big benefits is that you're not tied to somebody else's schedule, and you have freedom to, whether it's to sleep late in the morning and to stay up late at night, or opposite, if you're early birds, to get up early and to get your day started. And sometimes, especially when your kids are young, you'll be done with school before lunch, and then you have the whole rest of the afternoon to do other things. Some people like to do 4-day school weeks, or a year-round schedule, or a traditional schedule, or whatever. But it's great that as a homeschooler, you're the one who gets to decide that, and to work around mom and dad's work schedules, and to take vacations when it's good for you and not just when it's on a school calendar. You can go in the off season when the places are less crowded, and visit places, travel. People who like to travel, you have a lot more freedom just to pick up and go and take the kids with you. So another thing, snow days. Of course, snow days are wonderful, but you don't have to take a day off of school because it snows outside, because you don't have to go somewhere. Right. Although we probably did that a lot, but you can also take Sundays. When it's a really nice sunny day, today's a day off from school and we're going to go to the park, right, or we're going to go to the beach, or we're going to do whatever. So that's really easy to get used to, is just to have control of your family's schedule and to do things that work for you.
And it's so freeing as a family too, because as opportunities arise, you're able to pick up, and you can even take your homeschooling books on the road and say, okay, we've got this great opportunity to go to the beach now. We didn't have that before. We'll bring our books and do a little bit of school during the day or whatever. Whereas you typically don't have that kind of freedom.
Yeah.
So it is.
And our extended family lives far away. So when the grandparents came down to visit, we would make it field trip week and just go on different excursions with them. Or if we went up to visit them, we might bring some books along and just get some school done while we're there. So you can do a combination, and it doesn't have to be all or nothing.
That's right. Yeah.
Customized education sort of goes off of that. A flexible schedule means you also have control over what and when and how you're teaching. So in North Carolina, we don't have to follow any specific curriculum or any specific standards. Homeschoolers are free to teach what they want, when they want, and how they want, which means you can individualize for your children. Mm-hmm. So it's not a cookie cutter, everybody has to learn the same thing in first grade, second grade, third grade. You can teach your children together and we did that a lot with my kids. Even with a big age span, we'd all be learning about the Revolutionary War, and just the types of things they were reading or doing would be different, but we'd be all on the same subject, which was really fun for us. Not everybody homeschools that way, but that was something we liked to do. But also just adjusting things to your child's learning style, being able to help present or find curriculum or present things that are going to help them learn in the best way they know how, and choosing curriculum that just matches your family's values and type of style of homeschooling.
So another wonderful aspect of homeschooling is the Christian influence that you have on your children, and being able to bring in the curriculum you choose can have a lot of Christian influence. The books you have them reading, you choose whatever you want to be able to share your faith with your children. We always had devotion in our family, and I'd have them doing little journals every morning so that they learned how to be able to talk to the Lord and look at His Word and be able to apply it to their lives. So that was really fun to be able to teach them those kinds of things. And in addition to that, it's the character, teaching your children different character traits. Like as when they're being homeschooled, you can see different things that they might be struggling with, so you can focus in on how does the Lord think about that particular aspect that they might be struggling with, and be able to show them in God's Word and just show them the way God would deal with it, and how we need to die to ourselves and become more like Him. So it was kind of neat to be able to walk out our Christian life before them as they bringing them up in the ways of the Lord, and being able to talk to them about their character.
Yeah, character was a big benefit for us too, in that was as important as the academics, was that we worked on things like responsibility and honesty and courage and kindness, and that those were things we talked about a lot, and that we actually deliberately worked on projects or different things that would kind of develop those character qualities, and that was part of the education that our children were getting. So that is a big benefit of being able to tie that in and not have it have to be separate on different days or only on Sunday or whatever.
Yeah. Every day.
Yeah. Preserving childhood was another thing that was important to us. I thought was a big benefit. And one of the things my adult children have said is that they really appreciate their childhood. They felt that they had a great childhood and spent lots of time out in the woods and playing in the yard, because they did have time to go and do things besides lessons. We spent time on schoolwork, but then we also got together with friends and went to the park and went on field trips, but just riding bikes in the neighborhood, and they could do that in between a lesson. They could do some schoolwork and then go out and get on their bikes and burn off some steam, and also just being protected from some of the worldly things that are introduced so young in our society. And when they're at school, they're exposed to so many things that we were able to kind of shelter them from, and I think in a good way, that it just let them be kids for longer. And they grew up appreciating that, especially as they got talking with other people and what their childhoods were like. They were just kind of really happy that they got the amount of freedom and the ability just to be kids and build forts and
That's right.
kind of do things that that they want now for their children. I know my son with his he has a baby, a little boy, and he wants his son to have that kind of childhood too, which makes me feel really good. So I think life skills is kind of one of the last things that we were going to talk about, and the importance of teaching our kids just the kinds of things they're going to need as adults.
Right. Yeah. Even some of the things that we taught our children. My husband and I have a business, and just as we started opening up a new showroom, our kids were a part of that, and they learned how to build out a showroom and work with tools and how to build things correctly, and then also the business aspect of things. He got to teach them about, you know, being in the red and how you get to, you know, out of debt and things like that. So, and learning how to balance a checkbook, things like that. That money management to me was a very big thing too in life skills. And another thing in life skills were cooking and cleaning, just daily chores, keeping up with your laundry and how to clean things. And that was also a very big part of
chores is a huge part, because when everybody's home all day, every day, the house takes a beating. So having the whole team work together to keep the house up, and that was tough when they all grew up and moved away. And I had to do all the chores again. It's like, oh man.
Another important thing to me too was when a family member got ill, to learn how to take care of somebody that is in a weakened condition, or I have friends that have children that have special needs, and to learn how to care for people that might be different than you are. And to me that was an important life skill, because out in the world you come across all different kinds of people, and to know that people are people, and to be always tender-hearted and kind towards others that might not look like you or be like you, or might be going through something that's very difficult. So to have a compassionate heart towards people.
I remember there were times when a friend would call who had an emergency, or needed to take somebody to the doctor, but needed someone to watch a younger child or whatever. And sometimes I would just say to my kids, we have to put away the books, because we have something that's important to do, is to help a friend.
Right.
And that goes along with character. It goes along with, you know, just learning to take care of people, like you said. So, yeah. So I think that covers the benefits. And of course, there are as many more as people
there are
come up with that are going to be benefits for their own families.
That's right.